Dear trading community, today I have a video especially for those who are involved with trading bots on the stock exchange. I've been doing this for a very long time and extremely profitably. I'll also show a few excerpts. A small PIONEX account. There are only minimal profits here, but everyone who follows me knows that I started this account with $700 and now it's at $1,480. And that's now I think just about 3 months if I'm not mistaken, or 2 months. Here's also an excerpt, for example, from the last 30 days. I've made 50% with the trading bots that I was able to add to my portfolio. I also run other trading bots, Spot Martingale, or rather Spot DCA as it's also called. And those are also very profitable. Also in my history, this is just a very small excerpt of what you can see here. But I'm specialized in trading bots in very conservative and safe variants so that I generate good profits and ideally no losses. Even now, for example, there are more running here. But what do I want to show you today? The number of crits, or rather the profit per crit, which you should use in your crit trading bots. I've already done a test. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, feel free to do so. You can also see the first video here, where I explain a 100% passive income with an autopilot trading bot that I've been running for an incredibly long time. But if you go, for example, into the PIONEX Grid Trading Bot live test here, I already ran a test 2 months ago. Grid Trading Bot experiment, 50 versus 190 grids. A clear winner. I didn't know it back then either. And after that, I thought to myself, okay, now I already know that the inputs you might get from the exchange, and we'll go through this live in a moment, or what someone out there might tell you like, hey, you should use this number of grids, can completely eat up your profits. And that's not what you want. You run your bots so that you can maximize your profits and not hand them over to the exchange, because trading fees can really eat up a lot of your profits, cost you. And that's why I started a longer live test, where we analyze the optimal number, or rather not the number, but the optimal percentage distance per grid. And now I have a result for you. By the way, if you're not on PIONEX yet but want a bonus for grid trading bots or similar bots, I have a link in the video description. You can get up to $1,000 deposit bonus, and if you complete your KYC too, you'll get another $50. You'll also find all the details there about how much you can get. Or also, with Bitget, if you haven't registered yet, you can sign up. And after that, you can get a $200 spot crit voucher here. And in addition, you also get a position boost, a voucher worth $200. So you can open your futures position and receive it. 14 days of VIP1. Enough with the advertising now. Let's continue now with the number of grid trading bots. Here you see 10 grid trading bots that have been running for a very long time. I'll also show you exactly how long at the beginning of the chart. Here I have the start date. That was around the end of August. And we've gone down with the price, we've gone up, we've gone down again, made a new high, also experienced the massive crash, and now we're here in this price range. Despite everything, the bots are in profit. But why am I now saying that I have a result for you? Because we had lows, because we had highs, and the grid trading bot was able to take advantage of all of it. So now I can share with you, what is the result for the individual percentage figures? How did my test go? I set up the lowest bot with a 0.1% profit per grid interval. And I did all of that in 0.1% increments upwards up to 1%. But let's move on first. What would be suggested to you? And if we go in now and I open a grid trading bot, for example, let's say we choose a Bitcoin trading bot, Bitcoin to US Tether, and I set a price range, let's say from $100,000 to $130,000, and then I say I'll invest $300. Just as a small example, I have the option to have a suggestion for the grid quantity entered here. If I click up here now, it says this, 0.22 to 0.3%. Profit per grid would be optimal here, according to a suggestion from PIONEX. Dear PIONEX, I have this test here, I have carried it out. If I really take this now, the 0.22 to 0.3. And you'll see it now, 0.1%, 0.2%, 0.3, 0.4, this all goes up to 1%. If I really take this as a suggestion now, over the entire period I've just shown you, my grid trading bots would now be in the negative, or at best somewhere around break even. Even though the whole period has already been running for 2 months now. But when we go higher here, where it really gets interesting, it's at 0.9, or rather, the best performing grid trading bot had a profit per grid of 0.8%. And that's why I want to say again, maybe don't take the suggestion, don't listen to what some people out there say, that you have to put in as many grids as possible, because you can supposedly benefit enormously from it. No, actually, that's not the case. Think about it. When you open a trade manually, would you close it for a profit of 0.2 or 0.3%? Or do you usually do that at around 0.6%? Even with scalping, there are situations where you would take 0.6%. And where would that be? You can also see here that from 0.6% onwards, it gets interesting. But if I take the suggestion I get here at PIONEX, 0.22 to 0.3, then at this point in time, I would have almost 8 times less profit than if I, like I did here in the test, went with 0.8%. But if you now say, my tests are running and I want to share this with you, I don't do it arithmetically, I always do it geometrically. So let's go in here as well. Geometrically, it tells me I have a fixed interval, 0.25%. That would now be the optimal setting for my price range. So 0.25 would be between this and this trade's trading bot. That means I would be plus or minus 0, or maybe even a little in the negative as far as this is concerned. Okay, we could now say that none of the bots are really that much in profit, but also as we experienced this high here, which I showed you also at this high. And I've shown this repeatedly in my live trades, but also in my videos, that here, despite everything, at 0.8%, we have the perfect distance for the percentage profit per grid. But if you say, okay, you're someone who doesn't trade this in geometric mode, but in arithmetic mode, which by the way, I've explained the difference in my tutorial videos. But if you look at them and say you want another suggestion, then you can adjust it according to the number of grids as you like. We don't want, the number of grids isn't decisive, but rather what is the profit per grid. And accordingly, I would now at least, let's say, go down to 35 grids maybe. Then we'd be at 0.64 to 0.84. I could maybe even go a bit lower, and that would now be an optimal grid for me, trading bot. Of course, it doesn't look like much, but the difference is that the fees for each individual trade don't eat up your profits again, but rather right here. This is the sweet spot where the profits actually end up in your pocket. And if we're at 0.68 to 0.89, so 0.07 to 0.09 in this case, then we're exactly in those ranges where this bot, and this bot here operate. So these 3 bots are almost perfect to use as arithmetic. Even the 1% is incredible. Good. That means in conclusion, between 0.7 and 1%. Arithmetic. But if you use geometric, meaning you have a fixed percentage that doesn't fluctuate, just as I showed here, then we want to have at least 0.8% here. That means I would have to put in 32 crits here. Then the money goes into my pocket and not to the exchange. And that's why I did this big detailed test, because my own video actually surprised me. It was a test where I myself didn't know in advance what I would show here. Big grid bot experiment 50 versus 190 grids. I was really surprised myself by what turned out to be the clear winner. And that was the 50 grids. And really by a very, very large margin. And accordingly, since this has really been running for 2 months now, I can simply tell you, forget about the recommendations, forget about what some people out there might say, that you have to use an incredible number of grids. No, 0.7 to 1% are the perfect intervals for a grid trading bot so that the money ends up in your pocket. And we really need to keep that in mind and not give away money, because when we set up these bots, we don't want to have as many trades as possible. No, we want to have as much profit as possible. That's the reason why we're all doing this. I hope this tutorial has helped you. Subscribe to my channel, we're going to have a lot more tests, and believe me, these new DCA martingale bots in the spot market that we have are very, very interesting. It was actually suggested to me during a live stream that I should test them out, because they themselves haven't opened one yet. Because they don't know how it reacts, how it actually works. That's why I used the funded account to create another test. And if I see that the test works well here, then I'll transfer everything to my private account on PIONEX, where I run all my other trading bots and where you also have the history available. And that's it for this video. Feel free to leave a like on this video. Maybe you expected this. How have you managed so far? Have you operated grid trading bots before? What was your percentage profit per grid? And in the meantime, have you perhaps missed out on some profits? Did you maybe give away profits even though you could have been profitable? Again, the approach that PIONEX suggested would have resulted in 8 times less profit. 8 times less. Just imagine that, compared to what I achieved for you in this live test. With that said, we'll see each other again next time. Bye bye.